But I think it's important that we frame those chapters around a verse like John 1:16. The grace already given. This is a reading that takes place for us within the church often around this time of year. And so it's a familiar text to many of us. But as I was reading through it this year, verse 16 kind of struck me as it says, out of his fullness, so out of Jesus' fullness, we have received grace in place of grace already given. And I don't know if you have been with us on our journey through the New Testament this year. We have embarked on a reading plan that took us 5 chapters a week from Matthew, and we have made our way into the book of Revelation. And you'll notice that none of our readings today are really from the book of Revelation, but if you look at the back of your bulletin, you'll see just kind of some notes on that. You see, the readings that we have in the book of Revelation are readings about wrath and the fall of Babylon. Because we know that the world around us is in chaos. We know that there are a lot of things that aren't going the way we think they should be going. We see this wrath and we lament it, just like John does as he's writing these chapters in Revelation. But I think it's important that we frame those chapters around a verse like John 1:16. The grace already given. Right? We know that in the midst of chaos, in the midst of the hard things of life, the things that happen to us and the things that we do ourselves, that we need grace. We need someone to come into our lives and say, you are forgiven. But not just those words, we need it to mean something. We need that forgiveness to mean that we are loved and that we have an identity that goes beyond the here and now and whatever it is that we're struggling with. And that's exactly what John is pointing us to. You see, he points to Jesus, who was there in the beginning and then finds himself in a manger. But then he offers this grace that surpasses anything that we could ever imagine to allow us to step away from the hard stuff and realize that we are loved and we are forgiven. Now, that doesn't mean there's not consequences when life happens to us or around us. There are. But it does mean that we don't have to sit there and say, woe is me, because we can say, man, we are loved. And so we see these words in John of in place of grace that's already given, and we realize that God has been a loving God from the time he started creation in the beginning, even into now and into our readings of this week, if you're joining us on that journey of reading through Revelation. That as we look at all of those things that are going to happen, or that John sees in his vision as the plagues and the wrath, we see it in light of a baby Jesus. We see it in light of grace in our own lives. And we see it in light of the celebration that comes with knowing who Jesus is and what he's done for us. And so my hope and my prayer is that if you are along with us on this journey, that as you read through Revelation, you also read the beginning chapters of one of the Gospels to go along with it. So that you can see that even in the hardship and all of the things that are written about, that there is grace for us today. There is grace and there is reason to celebrate. There's reason to praise. There's reason to be able to find identity and say, I am loved, I am forgiven, and I have hope for tomorrow because of what Jesus has done for me. There's reason to read grace in place of the grace already given in a way that means something to us. As we look at the Christmas season, as we look at expectantly waiting for our evening worship to be able to light our Christ candle, as we wait for the things to come, we realize that there is more to our story. That in the beginning, God created. In the beginning, He was there. And then His story continues on, and it continues into our lives to share that grace that only He can share. Amen.